Squad. Vamos a tener a alguien que viene desde Massive Studio que nos va a hablar de Division 2 y nos va a contar todos los spoilers. Así que quédense pendientes de la entrevista, pero quédense también hasta el final porque vamos a hacer unas preguntillas para entregar unos regalillos, así que ¡vámonos! Denle la bienvenida a Luis. ¿Cómo estás, Luis?
Muy bien.
¿Cómo vas?
Everything's okay. Sí.
¿Cuál es la diferencia que tiene de Division 2 versus la primera versión?
Well, there is quite a few major differences, but I think the two main ones that we had in mind when we worked on the game. The first one is that we're dedicated to endgame. And what that means is that straight on day one, we actually wanted to make sure that there was a huge experience, a huge amount of content for players to experience, learning from all the years we had working on Division 1 and making it a live service. In Division 2, everything straight from day one is gonna lead you to that end game with the new specializations, that new character progression that you have at the end. And then the second thing, which is also very important, is actually the free year of post-launch content. Entirely free updates for everyone to play, no community splits.
¿Cuánto tiempo se tomaron entre Division 1 y The Division 2?
I think that there was somewhat like 3 years in between the two games because the first game released in 2016. And actually the team, as the Division 1 was releasing, a small part of the team started working on the next episode, while of course the majority of the team supported the first game, and it kinda balanced over time to end up with the full studios and 8 different studios actually working on the game.
¿En qué está inspirada Division 2? ¿Cuál es la historia detrás de ella?
I think one of the key elements that we basically wanted to explore is how the world could actually have evolved 7 months after a deadly catastrophe, that virus outbreak that took place in the Division 1, and you were right in the middle of the crisis in the Division 1. Well, here, it's 7 months after. Everyone, the population, the government, the division themselves, they've been working at trying to keep society as we know it still thriving and protecting the civilians. But of course, they're not the only ones. There is also bad guys, heinous factions that wanted to take control of the whole country, starting with Washington, D.C.
La mayoría de los juegos en secuelas avanzan mucho en tiempo y en espacio. ¿Cuánto ha pasado desde el último Division a este Division y dónde estaremos ubicados?
Right now, it's the middle of summer, Division 1 was winter, and now we're bringing you to the middle of summer. It's hot, it's steamy, and it's a totally new environment, recreated one-to-one, very real, but totally transformed by these 7 months, with overgrowth, with factions that have taken strongholds, civilians that have banded together in settlements, and these are very important because you'll see that the world is actually evolving as you participate in the campaign, in the main game's progression, and you'll have your allies, your civilians allies that will gain power, and at the same time you will be weakening the enemy factions, and it's all about that balance and making sure that the civilians prevail.
Lo que nos estás diciendo es como un tipo de spoiler, o sea, ya tienen invierno y verano y entonces me estás diciendo que vienen Division 3 y Division 4 con otoño y primavera.
So what we have, I can't tell you for the future of the franchise as far as it goes, but what I can tell you is that we'll be bringing in that free content that we talked about a bit earlier. We'll be bringing new areas to explore, new locations, new main missions, so new story, new side activities to experience, more weapons, more stuff to do basically, but expanding on the storyline of the Division 2 as it starts in summer in Washington, D.C.
Los shooting games últimamente están muy marcados por el Battle Royale. De Division 2, ¿cómo va a cambiar esta tendencia o cómo se va a diferenciar del resto de videojuegos?
We're always looking at everything that's happening in the very fast industry that is video games. And I don't know if you played the first game, but there was this unique piece of content, which is the Dark Zone, which is PvE/VP, so player versus environment versus players. And all that is mixed in a location where, even though it's an open world, you'll get to have other players that you can fight against in a bit treacherous manners. And in the Division 2, we're actually bringing 3 different dark zones. With their unique locations, their unique activities inside to do enemy factions that are roaming, where you have other enemies, other players, sorry, that become suddenly your enemies, that could have been your friends. You know, you started with them in the dark zone, and suddenly they're backstabbing you because you have that sweet loot, very high powered, that they want to take from you.
Sabemos que van a llegar como nuevas facciones y modos de juego. ¿Qué nos puedes adelantar sobre todo esto?
Yes, so in the Division 2, as you start, soon enough, you'll get to meet 3 different factions. So there are the hyenas, which are basically a bunch of rioters that ended up banding together in order to take control of the commercial area of Washington, D.C., at least at the start. And they are very, active. They're trying to loot, to steal from the civilians. Then there is the True Sons. These ones are actually military units that has gone rogue. Initially they were here to help the civilians, to help them evacuate the city. But down the road, their general, he decided that, well, that wasn't going to happen under his watch. The way that it was going to be handled was not working for him, so he decided to work on his own. But so it's a bit tyrannic, you know, a bit in kind. And then the last one are the outcasts. And without spoiling too much, basically these guys, they have been put on the side of society at the beginning of the outbreak of the virus because they were infected. But some of them survived, and that's who they are. And then they started bringing in more people, not necessarily infected people, but they still have been pushed on the side. So they have a lot to actually get back to people, to civilians in DC. Yes.
Ahora hablemos de las Dark Zones. Así como nos vienes hablando, nos has dicho que son como importantes para ustedes. ¿Por qué pasar de una Dark Zone a 3 Dark Zones y qué nos puedes contar sobre todo esto?
Why did we want to do 3 Dark Zones basically? This enables us to offer, different game designs and level designs that actually push players to play in a certain way, depending on where they are. And it also helps us to play with a lot more variety versus having one single zone that was quite big in the Division 1 already. But in Division 2 we have 3 different ones with their unique tone, their unique story introduction also, because that's how you get introduced to the Dark Zones. There is a story mission that brings you into them.
Yo soy un renegado, vamos a ser un renegado. ¿Qué importancia va a tener el renegado? ¿Qué beneficios van a tener los renegados dentro del juego?
In this time, we actually made it evolve a little bit versus how it was in Division 1. The rogue system is really something personal. It's something that you as a player decide to engage with. And before, there was only one way to engage with you. It's basically attacking other players, and that was it. What we did is actually we added an extra layer, which is what we call the first stage of rogue. You only have a white watch instead of a red watch, the very iconic red watch. And you get to steal loot from places that are locked and that normally only open when you do certain normal actions in the game. You also get to mark down other, take down other, of course, players, and that brings you to the next level of the rogue system. And why would you do that? Basically because this allows you to gain better, higher grade loot, but of course, not only rogue players will get the best loot. We're very careful at balancing everything so that if players want to play nicely, if they want to play in a role play as an agent, a good guy basically, they can, and they will have very high-end gear in part of the Dark Zone. But engaging in rogue actually sometimes make it a bit more faster, maybe to steal the loot from others that have been hard working playing to get it.
¿Qué pistas más allá de lo que vimos en el beta nos puedes dar? No sé, van a sacar nuevas armas, personajes, indumentarias.
The beta, and that's important to keep in mind, it was a very, very small part of what the game has to offer. It was 1/4 of the area that you could. There was only one Dark Zone that you could play in, and it was capped to level 8. Of course, in the Division 2, you'll get to play up to level 30, and after that, you'll get to engage in the specializations, that's part of the endgame content. There is a new faction coming in, there is a story twist that I'm not going to spoil for you. There is that new progression system, the specializations, that bring brand new weapons as part of your experience. It's a crossbow, a super strong sniper rifle, as well as a grenade launcher, for example. And these are the easy ones for me to name because, of course, there is a ton of new weapons, a ton of skills that you'll get to play. I think the beta, it was only 3 or 4 skills, but there is a total of 8 of them to explore and to unlock and to experience with in the open world.
Como nos vienes contando, ya nos dimos cuenta que van a venir como muchos DLCs. ¿Qué tienen ustedes planeados para abrir el juego? ¿O qué pistas nos pueden dar que van a traer esos DLCs?
So yes, and all that content again is very important. That's free content, right? That's the beauty of it, is that we are providing all this to make sure that people, they get even more content to engage with, no matter what you have. Because in those big updates, you will have story, you will have new areas, you will have more weapons, of course, exotics, more armor, more gear. You will have all of that. You will have sometimes even new modes that will be introduced, new ways to play the game. And I can't really tell you when exactly each of them are going to release right now, because today, especially this week, we're very hard at work at making sure that the launch is a success.
Ok, vamos a entrar ahora en una actividad que nosotros llamamos preguntas rápidas para respuestas muy cortas. Describe Division 2 en una sola palabra.
Massive.
¿Qué tiene Division 2 que no tenga ningún otro shooter?
The Dark Zones.
¿Va a haber cambios en la jugabilidad, en el modo de juego?
Some, yes. Some have been improved.
¿Cuántos jugadores van a poder estar conectados al mismo tiempo?
In the Dark Zones, it's up to 24 players. And then, overall in the world, it's a lot.
¿Cuál es la duración del juego en modo historia?
16 missions, depending on your speed, should be taking 40 hours.
¿Va a tener micropagos?
Yes, similar to what you had in the Division 1.
¿New York o Washington?
Lately, more Washington.
¿Renegado o good guy?
Good guy.
¿Cuál es tu facción favorita?
In terms of look, the Outcasts.
¿Quién es Tom Clancy?
Well, it's the guy that allowed us to create all of that, you know? It's his legacy that we are bringing here in the Division 2.
¿Qué podemos esperar cuando se finalice el juego?
So you can expect new specializations, so a new progression system, basically, bigger weapons, a new faction, and that twist of the story.
¿Cuál es el propósito de adquirir todos los ecos?
The echoes?
Yeah.
So the backstories, you mean the lore?
Yeah.
But actually, I can't answer. The echoes allows us to bring even more backstory, you know, to the world. Of course, we have the main story that we tell, and that's your story at the moment. But it's important to us. There is what we call this environmental storytelling, and the echoes, they help us to bring that even further, because you have a recreation of what happened 7 months earlier during the outbreak.
¿Van a tener el parche del primer día, la actualización del primer día?
A first day one patch.
Yeah, day
yes.
one patch.
So yes, we have one, because, as I mentioned, it's our major concern, major objective to make sure that on day one, everyone has the best experience possible.
En porcentaje, ¿qué tan completo está el juego? ¿A qué nivel está desarrollado?
Well, today it's 100% finished. Whatever you're gonna play, if you play it today, if you pre-ordered, or on Friday, it works by itself, you know, already. It's a package that you can experience from A to Z entirely on day one.
Okay. ¿Cuál fue tu videojuego de niño, tu preferido cuando eras un niño?
Well, actually, one of the first games I spent the most time in, it was Assassin's Creed 1, so that's why I guess I work at Ubisoft.
¿Cuál es tu otro juego, aparte de Division 2, que es tu favorito? O sea, ¿qué videojuego nosotros tenemos que tener en nuestra librería de videojuegos?
I think that down the road, Assassin's Creed Origins is the one I've played the most recently from Ubisoft. And the Division 2, I'm still gonna say it.
Bueno, y para cerrar la entrevista voy a hacer una pregunta un poco polémica. Bueno, vemos que Ubisoft le está dando mucho protagonismo a las mujeres en los videojuegos. ¿Qué están haciendo ustedes para continuar con este empoderamiento femenino? Y si caracterizarse como mujer puede tener alguna relevancia en el desempeño.
I can tell you that no, being a girl won't have any negative impact in the game. We're always giving the opportunity to players to basically live their fantasy however they want it.
Okay, Louis, thank you very, very much for this interview. You're a great guy.
You're welcome. I'm very happy to be here.
And you say hello to DP Squad.
Hi guys, and I hope you enjoy the game.
Ok, entonces hagamos un resumen ejecutivo de lo que acabamos de hablar con Luis, de un par de cosas que nos contaron extra cámaras. Por ejemplo, tenemos que decirles a ustedes una noticia súper importante, y es que el juego va a estar doblado al español latino. Otro de los temas es que este juego es compatible con Microsoft Xbox, es la plataforma ideal para jugarlo, así que los Xboxeros los queremos y tienen que tener este juego porque es un juego creado desde la plataforma de Xbox o pensado desde Xbox. Aunque también va a salir para PlayStation. Vienen muchos DLC gratis, vienen nuevas facciones, vienen nuevos personajes, vienen muchas cosas. Sí, señores, también vienen muchas armas. Lo que alcanzamos a ver en la beta es un pedacito así que vienen una tonelada de armas. Eso fue lo que nos dijeron. Así que, señores, no me queda más que lanzar las preguntas para que ustedes se puedan llevar unos regalillos que les voy a dejar por aquí. Y estas son las preguntas. Pero no olviden suscribirse en el canal porque vivimos de sus suscripciones. Nos alimentamos con sus suscripciones. Y además de eso, sigan a Dprimero y a DPG Squad en las redes sociales porque son las páginas más geniales del mundo mundial. Nos vemos en un próximo capítulo. Chau.